Have you ever thought about pairing cocktails with wine? Think about it. When you go out to dinner, if you're going to have a full meal, the first thing you want to do is start with a cocktail. Everybody thinks about pairing food and wine, but have you ever thought about using a cocktail to set up the bottle of wine that you're going to drink later with your food? It's a good thing to think about. My name is Certified Sommelier John Alanis, and in this video, I'm going to show you what cocktail I would use to pair with a beautiful bottle of Pomerol, the Chateau Clinet 2016. So, what I know about the Chateau Clinet 2016 is the wines from Pomerol are very rich. They see oak so that you get vanilla. They have more acidity in them since there is what's called a good diurnal split, meaning it's cool at night and warm during the day, so acidity is preserved. So what cocktail would I want to use to set up a wine that features lush, plush, velvety mouthfeel, black fruits like blackberry, black cherry, black plum, and a little bit of chocolate and a little bit of truffle in there? What would I want to do to set up? Well, I wouldn't want to do a margarita. That's going to be sweet. I probably wouldn't want to do a classic daiquiri, although I love classic daiquiris, particularly when it gets hot. So, what I am going to do tonight is I am going to set up this Pomerol with a Boulevardier. I actually asked a bartender friend about this, a real bartender, a guy who actually works, not a home bartender, and I said, give me your perspective, man, what do you think? He said, man, if you use a Boulevardier, you're going to be able to match the oak from the bourbon in the Boulevardier with the oak that's in the Pomerol. So you're going to get some vanilla and you're going to get some vanilla. You're going to get a rich cocktail from the bourbon, which is going to go well with a rich wine. And it's not going to be sweet, even though we do use a little sweet vermouth in a Boulevardier. And so it's going to be very well balanced, like the wine is well balanced. So we have a rich, full-bodied drink for a rich, full-bodied wine. So enough talking. Let's make a Boulevardier, take a sip. We'll have a little bit of water, and then we'll see how it works. So, what's a Boulevardier? A Boulevardier is a riff on the classic Negroni. A Negroni, the classic one, is 1 part gin, 1 part Campari, which is an Amaro, and 1 part sweet vermouth. 1, 1, and 1. For a Boulevardier, you replace the gin with bourbon. So what we're going to do in this is, since I asked my bartender friend about this, I said, what recipe do you want? The classic Negroni is 1, 1, and 1. 1 ounce of each and you're done. He likes to make a Boulevardier with 1 3/4 ounce bourbon, 3/4 ounce sweet vermouth, 3/4 ounce Campari, and then he's got 2 secrets that he likes. This is a little bit of salt water. 1 part salt, 4 parts water mixed in together. And he likes to take an eyedropper and he likes to put 1 or 2 drops of this saline solution on top of it. So you are literally salting your drink just a tiny bit to bring the flavor out like you would with food. Genius. The other thing that he likes to do, he says, look, you want a little spice in it? Put just a 1/4 ounce, float it, of a rye whiskey. So let's give it a try and see what happens. We're going to start with our Campari here. And Campari is actually what's called an Amaro. It's about 22% alcohol by volume. It's very bitter, so it's going to add a bitter element to this cocktail. So we're going to go with his recipe of 3/4 ounce. What I like about this too is it features the bourbon in here, which is going to be rich enough to pair well with our Pomerol wine. We're going to have a little Martini and Rossi sweet vermouth here, but again, just 3/4 ounces. It's going to balance out the bitterness of the Campari. So we'll do, with our jigger, 3/4 ounce Martini and Rossi. Now I'm going to use a bourbon. It's about 45% alcohol by volume. It's a little bit lighter one. It's a good, honest drinking bourbon. I sure as heck am not going to mix something like Willett Family Estates or William LaRue Weller or Colonel E.H. Taylor with this, but this is a good, honest sipping whiskey that makes a good, honest mixture. And it's rich, but it's not too rich. You get a little bit of maple in here, but not too much sweetness. So we're going to go with 3/4 ounce here, 3/4 ounce fine bourbon, and 1 ounce here. I always like to use jiggers to make sure that I properly measure it. All right, now what we're going to do is we are going to add some ice to our mixing glass. And maybe a little too much water there. Oh, there we go. I'm a sommelier. I am not a bartender, as you can see. But I can make a pretty good Boulevardier because I am a whiskey man. So we'll give this about 30 revolutions. We want it to get cold. We don't want to dilute it. There we go. Now we have a rocks glass, 1 big cube orange garnish, and we're going to pour our Boulevardier. And then I'm going to put a tiny bit of salt on it, and then I'm going to float just a little bit of spicy rye whiskey on top. We've got the classic Sazerac. Got our eyedropper here. Got our salt solution. I'm going to do 1, 2. Feel like I'm back in chemistry lab. And now we're going to take just a little bit of Sazerac just to float it on top. I'm probably going to do less than 1/4 ounce. We'll go with that. I like that. All right. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take a drink of the classic Boulevardier. I'm going to take a drink of water, got a little bit left in here, and then I'm going to try the wine. I have already tried this wine. I just opened the bottle, so I know what to expect from it. What I'm looking for is to see the difference, the interaction of the Boulevardier with the beautiful Pomerol, the Chateau Clinet 2016. What I love about the Boulevardier in comparison to the Negroni is you get that richer, almost maple characteristic of the bourbon that comes through. It diminishes the bitterness of the Campari, even though it's on there on the back end. I don't pick up a hint of sweetness at all, but I always get a note of chocolate that comes through. And that gets me a little bit excited because I know that this wine, when I tasted it, it had a chocolate strain going through it along with truffle, and it was fantastic. So I don't want to go right from a cocktail to taking a sip of wine. So I always like to take a taste of water beforehand, and then we're going to see how the wine works. So I've cleansed my palate a little bit, but I still have the residual from the finish of the Boulevardier. That richness is still on the back of my tongue. So let's see the effect that it has on this beautiful Pomerol. This is quite unexpected, but quite good. This actually brings out the fruit a little bit more. And it makes sense because salt has a positive effect. Put a little saline solution on there. Salt makes a wine more fruity and less dry. So what this does is, I don't quite get the chocolate strain that I did before. What this does is it brings out the fruit. And that's really what you want from a Pomerol. When I do that, the black cherry, the blackberry, the black plum, they really stand out. A little bit of vanilla from the oak in here, a little bit of vanilla from there. But what I would say this Boulevardier does is it lifts the fruit up. And so this is a fantastic way to set up a bottle of a beautiful Pomerol. So, enough talking, let's get to drinking. Enjoy!